Good evening and welcome to the first night of the Sheffield Students' Union Officer Debates. My name's Max Langer and this is Joel Lufton.
Max and I will be guiding you through this evening as we hear from candidates for 3 of the 7 full-time SU officer roles. Voting opens at 10 a.m. on March the 7th and runs through until 5 p.m. on March the 9th. You can cast your ballots via the SU website.
Tonight we'll be hearing from candidates for the first 3 officer roles. Then they will be the Welfare and Sustainability Officer, the International and Community Officer and the Wellbeing and Sports Officer roles. The other 4 will all be covered in a debate tomorrow evening.
As part of these elections, you will also have the opportunity to elect 5 part-time SU officers and 2 student trustees. Details of all the candidates and their manifestos can be found on the SU website.
But let's crack on with the first debate, shall we? Up first, we've got the Welfare and Sustainability Officer. They're responsible for furthering students' views on all things to do with welfare. They also seek to tackle the root causes of welfare issues, and they're also responsible for all of the work that the SU does on environmental, ethical, and sustainability issues.
And to kick off tonight's debate, over to our host, Risa.
Welcome to Welfare and Sustainability Debate. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Charlie Thomas. I'm a second year politics student and I'm running for Welfare and Sustainability Officer.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam and I'm a Cultural Heritage Management Master's student. Thank you.
Thank you. Both of your manifestos address improving student housing. What do you think are students' main concerns regarding housing, and what plans do you have to address this?
Thank you. Students are paying too much rent. We pay tons of rent, but landlords aren't sorting out bad conditions like mold in bathrooms, necessary repairs that need to be done. We're paying so much money, but they're spending nothing on us. I organised the rent strike last year. I helped organise it. We showed the university that it was the student power that got the money back. We withheld 400 grand from the university and we got 30% back in rent rebates. It showed that it wasn't the SU which got the money back. It was student power. Like, you don't just go into a meeting with university management and ask for change. You have to put pressure on them. If I'm Welfare and Sustainability Officer, I'll demand change from the university. I'll organise students into a renters union and I'll organise another rent strike. I've done it before and I can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So one of the big issues about the rent and about the housing at the moment is that a lot of the private landlords have really poor insulation within their buildings. It's been left at the legal minimum for far too long. And especially as you're seeing that the gas increases have happened twice this year, students are going to really feel the pinch over the coming winters. So things need to change and things need to be better. So what I'd like to do in terms of that is I'd like there to be exclusion from those and more of a hostile approach to landlords and letting agents that do not have suitable, appropriate plans in place for their for making sure that their accommodation isn't at Band D. Aside from that, I also want to make sure that I have seen, personally I've seen landlords break the law when it comes to the letting agreements. I have seen them have practices which shouldn't be allowed. And if there was in any other business, they'd be out because they've just lost all goodwill. I want there to be a space for students to actually air their concerns about certain particular landlords and find a way for students to have more of a say in their ability, in what they're living in for a year plus. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to say to each other?
No worries. I think in your manifesto you say you want to shame the landlords who don't do enough against student housing. I think these bad landlords have no shame. They have no shame. Our money is enough to make them feel good about themselves. I think we need a renters union and we need a rent strike. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything?
I agree, but I also know that the work in which the officer team back in 2019 to 2020 did a lot of work to help with the rebates. And not just that, there's limitations in what the SU is legally allowed to do with landlords, and shaming them is something that is in the grey area, which hopefully we'd be able to pursue, and that if that impacts their profits, they will change.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that as well?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So the last SU president, Beth Auer, her statements were used against me in court with the university after I occupied the Arts Tower in 2021, a while back. The student union didn't do anything. It was chummy with the uni management. The student union is a union. It can't hide behind charity law. Charities can have political statements. They can make statements on things. The student union shouldn't be scared to fight bad landlords. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything to say? Okay. So both of your manifestos also state you want to help students have better pay, right, and conditions to work at the SU. What concerns have you heard from students regarding working in the SU, and how do you plan on addressing their concerns?
Thank you. Right, first of all, foundry workers need to have better pay for working night shifts. They deal with bad conditions, and they have to deal with a packed club, and like they're working a degree as well, right? I can't imagine working a degree when I have to work night shifts as well. I want to work with campus trade unions. I want to work with Unite. I want to work with the UCU. I want to work with Unison, and I want to get them to improve working conditions in the SU. But I want to go beyond that. I want to improve working conditions in the city by giving workers the voice to empower themselves. Because it's workers who know what their problems are. They know how to improve their conditions. They know what will improve their conditions. I'm a campaigner. I'll help organize them because it's workers' power that will do that. I can go ask university management, I can go ask employers for a moon on a stick. I can ask them for whatever I want. But they're not going to do it. It has to be a workers' movement, a strong workers' movement behind me. It isn't me, it's the workers themselves, and I'll help organize them to do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I've been a worker since I was 17. My first job was at a bar in Birmingham for £4.05 an hour. So so things like the uplift, which was approved and granted, which was done by Unison and the Welfare and Sustainability Officer, which I believe was over £1 an hour, was a very welcome from me and everybody else that I work with. However, there are still definite divides between the casual workers and the permanent workers within both Unicus, which I've worked at before, and Coffee Revs and the SU, which I work at now. So the big difference that I have seen in the HR policy are things like bad weather policy, where if the building is closed due to bad weather, permanent staff get paid, but casual staff do not. That is something which I think is really unfair, and the students which are worst affected, I don't have a choice about working, but students which are affected by things which affect the university, so like boycotts and strikes and occupations, and these students are affected and they don't get paid, I want there to be better support for these students. Another thing I would like to quickly note is I recognise that NES is currently working with the SU to make the university a accredited living wage employer. I hope that she'll be able to get that done before she leaves office, but if I was elected, I would definitely make sure to push onto that and make sure that both the SU and Unicus and the university itself are real living wage accreditors.
Thank you. Do you have anything you want to say?
So I've shown that I can talk the talk, but I'm going to show what I've done to actually help improve workers' rights in the city. I've helped campaign for university cleaners to get £10 an hour. I've been standing with Just Eat workers when they received a 24% pay cut before Christmas. I've been standing in the cold outside McDonald's with them. They've on there, it must be past 7 weeks of strikes now, and I can't imagine the sacrifices that these people need to take to do that. They've they work 7 days a week. One of them told me that he basically got to see his children for 4 hours in the week because of all the work he had to do. between that and sleeping. And like, I want the SU to make a big stand on that. Like, I want the student union to get behind strikes, to get behind casualized workers, to fight 0-hour contracts, because it's students. A lot of these people are students. We represent them. We shouldn't be just representing them while they're learning. We should be representing them while they're working. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything you want to say?
I mean, I agree with the points that you've said, and I do want there to be better representation for all workers and a move away from the casualisation that we've seen over the past decade. Yeah, that's it really.
Thank you. So, can I ask Samuel that you want to create a permanent location for sustainable events to run things like swap shops and knowledge exchanges? Space in the SU is in high demand. Where do you propose this can be, and how will you go about implementing this?
This is a lovely and closed question. So, for a bit of context, myself, my team, Sustainability Committee, People and Planet, and Sports Committee, we ran a swap shop last week down in the activity zone right below where we are. Hopefully you saw it, hopefully you swapped stuff. It was really well turned out. In the 12 or so hours in which we had the operations, we had over 150 swaps, which I was delighted about. So there's clearly a demand for this sort of thing. With working with the Environmental and the Social Justice Network this year, I have seen how difficult it is to actually have to get people from outside of these sorts of bubbles. And so there's definitely a need for there to be a permanent location for sustainable events and for sustainable, so like the swap shop. And so to me, the perfect location is there's right opposite the foundry doors, and nearby Pearls and the proper pasty shop is the location of where the old SU zero waste shop is, where there's the shutters. It is currently been unused. It's been unused for over a year. I think this is the prime location for it to be implemented, and I would work with the higher ups with the SU to make sure that there was adequate staffing and adequate resources to make sure that it was an actual thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's good points. Personally, with I'm mainly focused on like environmental campaigning for workers' rights. Personally, I need a table and maybe some spitting glue to do that. But yeah, we need that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, can I ask you that your platform states that you want to organize boycotts against any bar or club that won't do enough against spiking? Can you elaborate on how you will go about doing so?
Thank you. Firstly, we need to talk about spiking. Like, not talking about it makes it harder for victims to speak out. I went on the anti-spiking marches just before Sheffield Night In. We walked down West Street in the cold. People had like alcohol thrown at them. It wasn't good. Like, literally, you'd think that a march like that wouldn't have people speaking against it, but apparently not. With what I want clubs to do, I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers, right? It's on the onus of the club, right? It's their customers. They have a duty of care. It's not on the victim, right? It's literally clubs that are letting their customers be drugged. It's not on. And we need to look at which clubs are failing because there's not enough information on this, right? The SU needs to support students who want to go the police route, who want to talk to the police about what happened. But we've got to realize that this is some people's worst nightmares. There should be the same respect and there should be the same seriousness taken for people who don't go the police route, right? But we need to find another way for this to be reported, and we need to find a way to get this information, and we need to put pressure on the clubs. With how I do it, the people trust the SU, and students make up most of the customers at some of these clubs. If the SU spoke out, declared clubs unsafe if they weren't doing enough, people would listen. And imagine a club being declared unsafe on Freshers Week and people boycotting it. They lose thousands of pounds. That would be the kick needed to get clubs to do more against spiking. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to say?
I agree. I think spiking is a serious issue, and I am very, very privileged to not have to worry about it on a night out. And I would want, if I was to be elected, I'd want to make sure that that policy would be carried on. And I definitely work with people like the Liberation Officer and the Wellbeing and Sports Officer to make sure that there's a safe environment for both people within the SU and, like you said, making sure that there is space outside to push for better security.
Thank you. Do you have anything more?
I think that's all good. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that amazing debate. Remember, you can check out all of the manifestos on the SU website, but you can't vote yet. Ballots won't open until 10 a.m. on March the 7th. But without further ado, let's crack on with the next debate, which is for the International and Community Officer. Their role is to further the interests of all international students here at the University of Sheffield. They also work to organise events that will further integrate international and home students into the university. And finally, they're a member of several really important committees, such as the Sheffield Raising and Giving Committee, the Sheffield Volunteering Committee, and many, many others. So without further ado, I'll hand you back over to Risa.
Welcome to International and Community Debate. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, I'm Melody, and I'm currently a postgraduate student in management school, majoring in accounting and finance, and I'm running for the international student officer because I enjoy my university life a lot, and I live comfortable here, so I want to pass my enjoyment and happiness to other international students who are still struggling with something. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a third-year civil and structural engineering student. I am a student from Latvia, so European Union, and yeah, I stand for identity, integration, and accessibility. So hopefully, I'll be able to talk more about that.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and you can also call me Xiwan, Deng, and my family name is Deng, and I come from China, and currently I'm studying translation study, MA translation from English to Chinese, and I'm here for running the international community officer because I am one of them, and I know what it means to be an international student in the University of Sheffield, and I just want to do my best to help those in need and who have similar experience as me. Yeah, thank you.
So, what do you think are the main concerns of international students?
I think the international students concern a lot about their future career and the living experience of in a cross-culture environment. So firstly, finding a position where we can practice our professional knowledge learned from university is a common goal for every student. However, spending the most term time overseas limited us to find a proper internship in our home country. And due to the visa limitation, international students are also difficult to find a placement here. So, and even the PSW visa scheme, which aim to help international students, are still lack of awareness and details information for us. So, I think international students pay a lot of tuition fees, but cannot have a direct connection to a good future career. So I think it's a huge concern of many international students. And secondly, it's about exploring and enjoying the local or even the global life here. I think international students choose to live far away from family, far away from the previous environment because we want to explore something new. So how to explore and enjoy the new lifestyle here including the different education system and communicating with friends from all over the world and enjoy the new lifestyle is another huge concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are quite a lot of concerns that international students face coming here every year, and obviously it's not only new students, it's continuing students as well. So the first and foremost concern that a lot of people face is financial struggles and being financially stable, especially after so much uncertainty that COVID caused, loss of part-time jobs and inability to get new part-time jobs right now. So that's why one of my policies would be boosting scholarships and making sure that they're more accessible and the application process is easier. And there are certain requirements that can be achieved by more students that come from European Union or other countries. Second of all, obviously mental well-being, and there are struggles as homesickness, culture shock, that need to be dealt with by many international students that are either not expecting those struggles, or come prepared but still face it. So I would introduce plenty of workshops that people can go to, not only international home students as well, because they also face quite a bit of homesickness in their daily life. And those workshops would be encouraging national and cultural societies to get more included. Also, one of the main concerns that international students face is obviously Brexit now is a hot topic, and I would say tuition fees would be something that I would look into. Thank you.
Oh, could you pass
Hi. So for me, one of the major concerns of international students is also one of my concerns about this election. That is a better cross-cultural community. I mean, it should be improved. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying doesn't mean that it's not good enough now. I mean, we can see that a lot of people coming from different parts of the world to the UK for study, but many of them are not engaged as much as possible in the community of this university. I mean, as much as the home student do, because many of them are like spending their time with only the students from the same countries, like Chinese students or like other Asian countries. I think it's such a great chance for them to embrace the diverse culture in this country, because we see so many people from different parts of the world, and I think the role of international and community officer should be the bridge between the international students and the home students. And for me, if I take this role, I would like to arrange different types of cross-cultural activities, like the Cultural Week, for introducing different types of different topics of certain cultures, like food, music, or movie, whatever that attracts the international student, also home student as well. So I think this is the first part, and second part is the well-being. So I think it should be like their mental health and also physical health should be ensured, and how we can help them is one of the responsibility of the officer and also the student union. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to say to each other?
I would probably ask what would be your approach in integrating students from different cultures, because there are plenty of events happening now, and I would be just interested to listen to your approach of that.
Sorry, I don't get your question. Would you please?
Oh, yeah, because there are plenty of events happening now and activities that were organized to kind of bridge the gap in between cultures, but obviously it's probably not enough. So what would be your approach in that?
Thank you. So this is a very good question. So for me, take me as an example. I'm one of the members of a badminton club, and it's made up of different, people from different countries. But actually, it's not an official club of the university. So there are quite a range of different societies like this. So one of my goals should be I would arrange, to organize this kind of society and to use this kind of way to tell more people, because many people from like the less well-known society don't know student union and how it will play a role in this process. So I will just arrange them and make them well organized to do as to do the best as their position. Yeah.
Thank you. So, what has your experience as an international student been like, and how will you use that experience to improve the role?
Um, okay. I was becoming an international student several times because I joined a lot of exchange programs in my undergraduate university. So I made a lot of related problems about studying abroad and myself. And I think the most valuable part of my international studying experience is to meet different people. It helped me to improve my communication skills, especially with the people from different culture background. So I consider the communication skills as fundamental skills as being a student officer, because it's kind of uh, intermediate position between the students and the university. Additionally, I was selected as a student ambassador for the management school, and my main job is responsible for explaining the university-related question to the prospective, especially the international students. So it helped me to understand more clearly about what kind of help the international students indeed need, and what kind of things they are worried the most about the university. So I think it helped me to improve the role.
Thank you.
So I had plenty of experience at university, and one of them is being a part of International Students Committee. I'm the chair this year, and we faced quite a bit of struggle with engagement and getting engagement, especially from national and cultural societies after 2 years of being online. So I would definitely arrange new events and activities to boost their inclusion into what now is mixed life, both online and face to face. Also, being a part of Global Campus has shown me that all the events that are happening now are really helping students with their mental well-being, and also find new people and meet people from all over the world. But it's unfortunately not promoted enough, and the engagement is quite low. But a second problem is that usually students um, stick to each other, meaning that they don't really explore more than they are given the opportunity to. So I feel like the promotion from the side of the SU should be boosted. And my experience was also getting homesick and not finding enough people from my home country to cook meals with, to find shops that can that I can get Eastern European food from. So my city guide with the map and the calendar with different activities would help to tackle that issue.
So personally, I have suffered from some health problem last semester, and then I went to the university health service, and they told me how can I get help. I mean, the professional help from another organization. So, as far as I'm concerned, with my personal experience, I think it should be one of the responsibility of the student union officer to, especially international student officer, to present all the information and helpful resources to all the students in need, because it's the problem is that is not that we don't have these resources. The problem is that some of them, some of us, they don't know how to get access to the resources, because they are in a total different culture society, and they are in like they are using their second language English to asking for help. So I think we should take a responsibility to solve the problems like this, and like to have more to give them more chances to know what is going on around them and how they can get access to these very helpful resources. Like we can send them emails, we can help, we can arrange some activities, we can just be the first to ask them how can we help you and what do you need, and that's my personal experience and how I will use that to help them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you want to say to each other? Okay. So, what steps will you take to help international students adjust to living in Sheffield and making them feel comfortable reaching out to this year?
The first step I want to improve is about the awareness of university-related information. As both of them mentioned before, like the lack of awareness of information is the biggest problem to every international students. Let international students know what activities are holding in the student union and what kind of help and opportunity they could get from the university is extremely important. For example, due to the internet limitation, most students from China cannot get access to the Facebook or Instagram, or we even cannot receive the Google Mail from university before arriving here. So, posting the related information on more various social media platform could be very helpful. And during the term time, I would like to advertise the related information to each faculty because students cannot ignore the email from their department. It's the most important thing. So it's another efficient way, I think, is help to get international student involvement into the university life. And secondly, I would like to launch some schemes with specific topic, because it's hard for people from different country to make friends with each other because different living habits and a lot of things. So if we just gather students randomly, most conversation will just stay in Xiaoyu, and it cannot solve the social problem of the international students. So I would like to make a connection. For example, like connect the students majoring in language, literature study, or the culture study with the international students who indeed from that background. So it would be very helpful. Thank you.
One of my policies sounds easy in transition, and it would include plenty of things to actually help international students while they're here. So one of them would be providing access to short-term or vacation residences, and it's not emphasized enough how troublesome it is to get a short-term contract with private landlords or uni accommodation, but there is plenty of space where people could stay during vacation time when they don't have a family in this country, and all the plane tickets are really expensive, especially with the rising prices now. Second of all, I would definitely try to look into storage spaces, because while international students don't really have anyone to help them store their belongings during vacation period or while they're abroad in their home country, there are not a lot of options, and there are no deals for students to arrange that kind of storage space. And third of all, I would look into arranging some deals with moving companies, because while home students most of the time have their family or they know some local people that could help them moving their belongings around Sheffield or to different cities, or while it is costly to arrange some deals with moving companies, but I think it is possible.
So, firstly, I want to say one of my policies should be, like I mentioned before, the cross-cultural communication to be ensured. Like, I know there are currently many activities related to cross-cultural, but actually, I think some of them some of them should be improved as they are not designed by the international student themselves. Because we didn't ask them what they need to express. Like what international means is that before we came to the UK, what we know each other is through the media, through the internet. That caused many prejudice and also arrogance because we don't truly know each other. We don't really know what your culture is. And I think it should be a great chance for us to ask them what you want to say in this platform and how you can make others really understand your culture and understand the society which you lived for like decades. And secondly, I think for the well-being issue, I think it should be like divided into different stages before the international came to the UK and during their arrival and also after they arrived in the UK. And I think if it is possible, we can arrange or we can establish a group like one-to-one help each other. Like the candidate body gives me this inspiration. So like one of the group members used to be, one used to be the group member, and after he or she became more familiar with the stuff in the UK, he or she can just help another person who just came to the UK. And I think this is quite useful because everyone has their own individual experience. And I think some of them might be ignored by the organization, but they can just set it to the partner and let them know how you can live a better life here. Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say to each other? No. Okay, thank you for your time.
And now let's move on to the final debate for the night, for the Sports and Wellbeing Officer. They are responsible for the promotion and development of sports opportunities for all students, alongside promoting and representing the views of students on student welfare issues, wellbeing issues and health issues. So for the final time this evening, I'll hand you over to Riza to start the debate.
Welcome to Wellbeing and Sports Debate. Could you introduce yourself?
So yeah, hi, I'm Iwan. I'm running for Wellbeing and Sports Officer. I'm a third-year journalism student, and yeah.
Thank you. So, what can you bring to this role, and why do you think people should vote for you?
So yeah, I've been competing in university sports for the past 3 years. I've also been on committee roles for the past 2 years as social secretary for my club, Hornets Baseball. I've also been on the past year the sports committee social media representative. So I've been designing all the social media posts for that, as well as getting insight into sport at Sheffield, as well as speaking to a lot of the club captains and other members. In the other side of things, I'm also the head of sport for Forge TV. So I've had a lot of experience speaking to the candidates, the sports people there, as well as looking at how is best to represent sport at Sheffield.
Thank you. How will you go about creating a scheme for all club committees to receive mental health support training?
So yeah, the scheme for the mental health support training is essentially, it's not going to be the other point of call for people who need mental health support. They are just going to be trained in how to give the members who need this mental health support training, mental health support, where to go and what to do with it. So basically what I would look to do is create a training day at the start of the year, like club training days that other committee members have, just for specific club members who want to learn how to help people who may be struggling. So it's not about them being the be-all and end-all. They'll know where to go, such as SAMS and other areas of mental health support. So once again, it's not them being the support network, it's more them knowing what to do with it.
Thank you. You talk about establishing a 5-year plan with the University and Sports Sheffield. What exactly does the plan entail?
So yeah, the 5-year plan is essentially, after the pandemic, we need to know where we are going next in sport, because it is all a bit wavy and a bit unknown at the moment. So obviously, the main thing is looking at improving facilities, because if you look at other big universities with sport, they have invested millions of pounds into their facilities, whereas we are still at Goodwin, which is buildings from the 60s that have basically been plastered over with what can be improved. So obviously we need to look at where we can go from this. It's not a short-term fix, so that's why I said it would be a 5-year plan, because I want to make sure there's a lasting impact. So that would be one of the major things, is facilities, to ensure that the sports members can have the best experience at the university, as well as attracting potential candidates to be on sport. I'd also look at the performance athletes system. So looking at reintroducing the performance athlete schemes to ensure that if there are these performance athletes that want to compete in university, they can come to Sheffield and know they'll get the best support.
Thank you. How do you go about providing more sustainable transport methods for our club's away games?
So obviously it's not just away days, it's also looking at bringing clubs back to campus. So for example, with the new social sciences building that's being created next to Goodwin, there's also going to be a 4G pitch installed. So it is also bringing back those clubs that can train rather than going to Norton, where obviously the fuel expenditure is going to be quite costly towards the environment. So obviously it's looking at creating a bigger sort of sustainable transport links with sustainable transport companies, rather than having individual clubs having individual cars. We're looking at sort of maximising club members in vehicles rather than having separate ones. It'll also be looking at away days, once again looking at those group transport methods rather than individual methods.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you to all the candidates. We wish you all the best of luck.
But from us here at Forge TV, that's all we have for you this evening. Remember, the final 4 debates will take place tomorrow and will be made available on our YouTube channel shortly after.
And in the meantime, you can read all the candidate manifestos on the SU website, and make sure you work out who you'll be voting for when ballots open at 10 a.m. on March the 7th. But from myself, from Joel, from Rita and the whole Forge TV team, thank you for joining us and have a great evening.